talking about Thanksgiving, though. Right?
Thanksgiving. Yes.
So is
We're doing a Brazilian Thanksgiving.
How does Brazil connect to you?
I have a really good friend of mine who's from Brazil.
Okay.
And his kids are my kids' age. They all went to school together. They all played soccer together. And he and I are good friends. And we're going to make feijoada for the Brazilian Thanksgiving.
Okay, cool.
And it's a stewish type. It's meat and black beans.
Okay.
And it comes together and it mixes and melds like a cornucopia of, well, cornucopia doesn't really mix and meld. They're just kind of
right. They're different pieces, but
this
is it coming together.
This is cornucopia in heaven.
Okay.
But it's meat.
And you've had this dish before, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And you put it on rice, and then there's some other stuff I can't
remember the names too.
Like I could never say the names correctly.
That's
because they're in Portuguese. And while I'm very linguistical, I don't know Portuguese.
It works.
That's a word, right?
It is. I'm sure it is.
It is. Yeah, I just made it up. And then the other one will be, of course, turkey. And I'm going to make ham burnt ends.
Ham burnt ends.
Ham burnt ends.
Okay.
Instead of brisket burnt ends or pork belly burnt ends, it's going to be ham burnt ends.
What's the technique to burnt ends? You just burn the ends?
No, I don't know why I know why they call it a burnt end, because on a brisket, you have the flat, which is the skinny part, and then you have the point, which is the end part. And the end part gets not burnt, but it gets that nice mahogany crust on it.
Yeah.
And you take the end off of the point, and you re-smoke it again.
Right. Oh, okay.
So what we're gonna do with the ham, because last year we made Prague ham.
Okay.
And that was pretty cool. It was a long process, but this year, burnt end. So just take a ham that's already been smoked, already been cooked. Yeah. It's hard to find a fresh ham, by the way.
I was gonna say probably.
Yeah. Last year I had to go to New Prague.
New Prague, yep.
To get the fresh ham.
Not New Prague.
Not New Prague.
I know.
So, we're going to do that. So it's the same process.
Okay.
Same process.
So what you didn't know on this episode is you're diving deep into some culinary art.
Culinary art, it's exactly right. And some linguistical things. And geography as well.
Well, yes.
It's all together.
Yeah. And we're pulling together the final book, final bit of Ruth.
Final bit of Ruth. Yeah. Been in Ruth and been a final bit of Ruth. And we're going to talk about what happens what mission are we on? What happens when you're on mission? What happens when you're off mission? And so God has gathered God's people right out of Egypt. They've been wandering the wilderness for a long time.
Yep.
Then they hit they look over down the valley into Canaan, and they settle in Canaan. And we talked a little about Joshua and Judges, and we're not skipping them forever, but until we can get a handle on what's going on in Joshua, I'm not comfortable weighing in. And the book of Ruth happens in the middle of what's going on in Judges. So it's happening when all of these different tribes are beginning to find their own piece of property.
Okay.
So, and it's all at this crossroads of the earth.
Yep.
And if you know the map, if you see the Mediterranean, there's Israel,
which we'll put up on the screen,
we'll get
so
a map.
You can see it.
Yeah. And then God puts this group of people right at the crossroads of the earth. Everybody's coming through. History. The only way to get to Egypt, which is a very important country, unless you go by ship or by boat, you go by land, and the Silk Road, the Silk Trade, the spice trade, everything's coming through that part of the world where Israel is.
Which is why it's called the Middle East, right?
That's why it's the Middle East.
It's the middle of.
It's right in the middle, and the reason why that God puts them there is because, well, you could say a reason why God puts them there is so that they're going to interact with almost every culture that's coming through. And their mission is that they've been blessed so they can be a blessing to the nations.
Yep.
And you're not going to be a blessing to the nations if you're stuck somewhere up in Siberia or, way down in a corner somewhere of the earth or the planet. So
you have to be on the expressway,
You have to be on the expressway. You got to have you're not putting a billboard, on a dirt road in the middle of nowhere selling whatever, but you are going to put a billboard on 35E, right? Because everybody's gone through.
Yep.
And it's going to, is it 90? Is it Interstate 90?
90 is on the southern part
and
of
it goes into
Minnesota.
South Dakota.
Yep.
And it's Wall Drug all the way to Wall Drug.
Yes.
Yeah, 1,000 signs for Wall Drug.
And that is not where Israel was placed.
No. So you're not saying Wall Drug is a blessing? Have you been to Wall Drug?
I have.
It's an interesting place, man.
It's a trap is what it is.
It's got everything on the planet.
Yeah.
And some stuff that you never even knew existed. Anyway, all right, sorry. So Wall Drug is out there. Destination for people if they want to go to it. The problem is, though, is that you're in the middle of the expressway and everybody's coming through and the armies of all of these countries are coming through. Assyria, Persia, Babylon, at some point it'll be Greece, and then it'll be Rome. And if you're living in that area, you're going to get trampled on. It's going to be a tough road for you.
Yeah.
And that happens to the people. And when we get into prophets, in 1st and 2nd Kings, and in the prophets, we're going to see how when you get off mission, what happens to these nations.
Yeah.
And so, but at this point in time in the book of Ruth, they're not nations. They're just tribes.
Okay.
And there's 12 tribes, and they all have their allotment of land. There's one tribe that never got land because they were the priests. They're called the Levites. The Levi was one of the sons. These are the 12 sons of Jacob.
Yep.
And Levi they don't get land because they're going to be everywhere. They're going to be leading worship all over the place. They're the people leading worship. And then Joseph doesn't get property because he never leaves Egypt. Like he never, where he leaves Egypt after he's died, but he doesn't leave Egypt. And so his two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, let's go with that. Say it with confidence, right?
Yep. Say it with confidence.
Those two sons get land, and that means you're at 12.
Got it.
Because you're out Levi, you're out Joseph, gives you 10. Those two sons give you 12.
Got it.
And so there's this promise to Abraham and this call in Leviticus to be a priesthood of all believers and to be a blessing to the nations. And so I think of it a little bit like when God brings God's people together in the desert, God has them build a worship center.
Okay.
Center of worship.
Yep.
We call it the tabernacle, or the tent of worship. And because it was basically a tent.
Yeah.
Big tent, but a tent. And what God is doing with God's people is God is putting God's people and they put the tabernacle in the middle of the camp.
Yep.
So everybody could see. So God's putting God's people in the middle of the nations so everyone can see. So it's like God is tabernacling God's people in the middle of everything. And it's kind of a mirror to the tabernacle when they were in the wilderness. So when they came in, there were different levels of places where the land was going to be given. If you wanted really good choice land, you would be in the Judah Mountains. That was on the eastern edge of Canaan, say, right?
Okay. Yep.
And then there's as you go down those mountains, there's hill country, and then there's the coastal plains right next to the ocean. And at this point in time, these are not ocean people.
Right.
They never really become an ocean people. They know how to fish on the Sea of Galilee, places like that. But they're not really an ocean people.
So they're not sitting out there on the beach and getting a tan and
No,
doing that stuff.
no, and they're desert people.
Okay.
The ocean is chaos to them. It's unpredictable. The waves are not predictable. Storms are not predictable. You don't know what's going to happen. And so large bodies of water in Scripture have always been a metaphor for chaos.
Okay.
And you didn't want to be a part of chaos. But what you wanted to do is you wanted the blessing to come into the chaotic situations and bring peace.
Okay.
The people that are living on the coasts of that are the Philistines in the southwest and the Phoenicians in the northwest on the coast. The Phoenicians were boat people. The interesting thing about the book of Joshua is that God says, go kill everybody. Well, they don't do that. We've always had this in our mind that they do. No, they don't, because the Philistines are still there and the Phoenicians are still there. So Joshua still kind of befuddles me in some ways about all of that. And so when they started to build their cities, they would build cities on top of cities that were already built, like on their ruins.
Yeah.
So if you ever see an archaeological dig of a lot of different places in that part of the world, you don't see an archaeological dig where you're on the surface. You're always going down. You're always going further down into the earth to find, there's another city here. Oh, no, there's another city here. And that's all over that part of the world. And they're called a tell, T-E-L. And they are,
bless you.
Excuse me. Wow, that's my tell right there.
Yeah.
They're, if maybe we could show some pictures of a tell as well. Big, large mounds. And just over the years, they've been covered up by dirt, by all kinds of things. And cities that are built on top. And so you could even have 3, 4, 5 cities on top of the very first one. Mm-hmm. And so when you do an excavation, you're always going down. You're going down because the stuff was built on that. And if you see any kind of archaeological show or a dig, I saw a show about the city of Alexandria,
okay,
where they think Alexander might be buried. They're going down to cities, the city that was built before, and the Alexandria keeps being built up. Mm. So they're always going down, looking for more information. So these tells are these cities out in the in for us it looks like a desert, a lot of it, but something's important happening at that city, and something important happens at the city where Boaz goes to. Could have been Bethlehem, not really sure.
Okay.
That's what we think.
Right.
That's what it says, but it's not specific, but you can probably think it was Bethlehem. And something happens that's really important in that story. Boaz ends up redeeming Naomi and Ruth, but he does it at the city gate.
Okay.
And the city gate is very, very important. First of all, it's important for defense, and it's a defensive structure. And the way that you would create the city gate is it would be kind of skinny. You didn't want to open up your gate and have, large armies just running through your city. But off the side of the gate, there were these rooms, and soldiers would be in these rooms. And then if 2 or 3 aggressors, 2 or 3 invaders got into your city, then the soldiers come out of those rooms and handle those people, and then go back to their rooms for defense.
It's like the barracks.
It's like a barracks, yeah. And then but you're not being attacked all the time.
Right.
So what's going on with these cities at the city gate when they're not being attacked?
When they're in peace and
they're at peace. So the city gate becomes a place for the politicians to go, a place for the judges, especially in this period of time, judges,
Yep.
to go to adjudicate, to hear arguments, and to make a judgment about who's right about this or who's got to pay that or whatever.
It's like the modern day courthouse. I
Yeah,
guess.
it's very much so. And you're going to see lots of things happen at these gates. Lots at the gate, at the city gate. He's an important figure in his town. Mordecai, which is in Esther, is at the gate, and I love that name.
Mordecai too,
Mordecai.
including Boaz.
Boaz is a great name, but Mordecai's like, hi, this is Mordecai. You know, like,
Yeah.
this is my son Mordecai. Anyway, we'll get off of that. That would be happening at the city gate, and that's what Boaz does at the city gate. We'll get back to that in a little bit, but let's talk about the cities as well. So because Jesus talks about these cities,
Okay.
just talks about cities, and uses that as a metaphor for who we're supposed to be. So if you're an upper class, if you're the wealthy ones, you are inside the city gates with the prime real estate. If you were middle class, you actually lived in the city walls. The walls were houses, apartments, say condos.
Yeah.
You live in the city walls. If you were lower class, you lived outside the city walls in what we call hamlets or villages or whatever.
Okay.
And
It's like
then
the suburbs.
yeah, but not.
No.
Because they were poor,
Yeah,
lower
yeah,
class. And then if you were in, like if you were just destitute, really, really poor, you lived in the trash heaps. You live where everybody threw their trash, and you're digging through trash for sustenance and supplies and that kind of stuff, which still happens to this day. In college, I went to a place out in Mexico, and they drove us out to the city dump, and there's people walking around with bags looking for stuff, you know. So
Yeah.
kind of a hard living. But Jesus, so if you look at these cities, they're built up so they look like they're hills.
Okay.
They look like they're sitting on a hill. Well, what does Jesus call us? He calls us city on a hill.
Yep.
We are a city on a hill. No one lights a lamp and puts it under a bushel. Shine your light. And if you're traveling out in the wilderness and you see lights in the distance, you go, and it's up high, that's a city. I'm going to find safety. I'm going to find food. I'm going to be a city on the hill. So what are we supposed to do? Travelers are traveling in this life, and they're supposed to see us, and they go, oh, you follow Jesus, you must be able to provide food, shelter, peace, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what Jesus says to his disciples. So be a city on the hill and shine your light, because that's what it looked like. It looked like they were on hills. Mm-hmm. But what also happened at the gates was that the lower class and the poor people could come to the gate, and the wealthy people and the middle class people would meet them at the gate and give them supplies and food.
Okay.
Like welfare at that time. And so the city gate was very, very important for all these kinds of things. So what happens at the city gate with Boaz and Ruth? Well, Boaz, he meets all the judges at the city gate, all the elders, and the person that's supposed to redeem Naomi and Ruth, who doesn't redeem Naomi and Ruth. And Boaz at the city gate says, I will redeem Naomi and Ruth. And he gives him the shoe. The guy gives him his shoe as an agreement thing. That's just kind of how the shoe thing worked back then.
Yeah.
And so this all happens. This contract happens at the city gate. And it only happens because Boaz is on mission. Boaz is doing exactly what Boaz shouldn't have to do because the other guy should have done it. But Boaz is on mission and Boaz does it. Well, we're going to see some example. We're going to show one more example of when people are on mission and when they're not on mission. Let's go back to the 12 tribes.
Yep.
All of these sons of Jacob, and then two grandsons of Jacob. There's 12. All of them they're 12 altogether. They're all given a mission, and they're all given land for a reason. And it's some get more, some get less, but there's a reason for all of that. The tribe Dan, Dan, is one that butts up against the coast. Actually butts up against the Philistines. Mm-hmm. And Dan's job, the tribe of Dan, their job is to protect and deal with the Philistines. Right below them to the south is the strongest tribe in Israel. All the tribes, Judah is the strongest tribe. And they're there. So Dan's dealing with the Philistines. And we might just do Samson. Yeah. We might just do Samson in a few weeks down the road. Samson is a Danite. Samson's from the tribe of Dan. And Samson is the one that's just going after the Philistines. You know the story with the donkey and the jawbone of a donkey. He's killing the Philistines. Well, he gets in trouble. He meets Delilah.
Oh, yes.
Cuts his hair. He loses his strength. He gets in trouble. Well, who comes to help? Well, Judah does. The tribe of Judah comes over and says, "Hey, what's going on over here?" And so they have protection. Well, the tribe of Dan decides that they're going to go off mission, that they are going to leave the mission God has given them. And so they pick up and they move. They move the entire tribe, and they move it up north to get away and to do their own thing. And they end up doing their own thing. They actually build a golden calf, and they worship around a golden calf. They become apostates. They turn their back on the tribes. They turn their back on their family. They turn their extended family. They turn their back on God. And they're up north. And so they go off mission, and something happens to them that they probably never even imagined, because they don't know that the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, all these people are going to come right through. And they're going to come right through. So Dan was the tip of the spear, but had a job, but had Judah to protect Dan. Now they don't have anybody to protect them.
Yeah.
So every single time the Assyrians come through, the Persians come through, the Babylonians come through, the first tribe to get hit is Dan. Dan gets pummeled time after time after time, and they finally cease to exist. Mm. Dan ceases to exist. It doesn't exist anymore. And so in the book of Revelation, chapter 7, there's a list of the 12 tribes. There are these different lists of the 12 tribes. Early on, the list included Dan. In Revelation, the book, that list doesn't even include Dan. It's like Dan became a zero. Dan became nothing. Dan lost its place in history because it went off mission. The same thing happened to the guy who's supposed to be redeeming Naomi and Ruth, but doesn't. The Bible doesn't even mention his name. Boaz meets Jimmy at the gate, and Jimmy says, "I can't do this," and Boaz says, "I'll do it." Well, no, it just says the next of kin. It doesn't even give. This person has no name. Why? Well, this person's not on mission. This person did not do his job. He did not do his duty to redeem Naomi and Ruth.
So you think that they specifically left this person's name because of him?
Yeah, he's insignificant. Yeah. The significance that he has is only that he says, "Okay, Boaz, do it, please." Yeah, I don't want to spend money on this. his selfishness pulls him out of the mission. He's no longer on mission, and he's supposed to be on mission.
Right.
Dan was supposed to be on mission. They went out of mission, and they no longer were a part of the mission. This whole area, God is using a group of people to be a blessing to all the nations. And when you're on mission, even though it's super hard and tough and difficult, you're able to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. And we're going to find out in some of the historical documents in the Bible, Kings, Samuel, some stuff like this. You're going to see different people and countries go off mission, and then what happens to them. Mm-hmm. King David. So Boaz stays on mission. He redeems Ruth and Naomi. And then Ruth and Boaz have a son named Obed. Then Obed has a son named Jesse, and Jesse has a son named David, who is the ancestral great grandfather of Jesus.
Right.
Because Boaz was on mission, we have a guy that's walking around the earth 2,000 years ago saying, you need to be a city on a hill. You need to be on mission. Be on mission. We have Jesus who's on mission, who in the Garden of Eden was tempted to go off mission. Lord, take this cup from me because, but in the end, he stayed on mission.
Garden of Gethsemane,
yeah. And he stays on mission and becomes the savior of the world.
Right.
The light of the world, the light that we want to shine out there because he was on mission. Boaz is on mission. Now, the interesting thing about David, we're going to go into David. So David's an interesting character because David goes off mission several times, but he has a prophet named Nathan who puts him back on mission. And, the famous story is David taking Bathsheba for his own. She's married, puts her husband out in front in line to get him killed. That's not being on mission. That's off mission. And so, but Nathan comes to him and says, what you've done is off mission. You need to get back on mission.
Yeah.
And that's what prophets do. Prophets tell us when we're off mission, when we got to get back on mission. And they're going to do that over and over and over and over again in the book of prophets. They're telling these kings, they're telling the nations, you're off mission. You're not doing the right thing. Get back on mission. And some do, and a lot of them don't. A lot of them don't. Yeah. And so, I think about for us as we move in our world, like what's our mission? Even our own personal mission.
Yeah.
We don't need a mission statement, but what's our personal mission for today? Maybe my personal mission for today is I'm going to smile and wave at every single person that I see, or I'm going to interact in a way that people know that they're loved and cared for by a total stranger. I'm going to go shopping today later, and I'm going to put the person that's in line behind me, I'm going to let them go first. I mean, whatever that is, right? Whatever the simple thing that could be, or I'm going to come work at Mission Outpost, or I'm going to donate this to this piece that's helping people. What's my mission for this day?
Yeah.
And some people know what that is. And a lot of people have never even thought about it. They haven't even thought that they could have their own personal mission to be a light, to be a city on a hill.
Yeah.
Because just like that city, our lives are built on those that came before us. Like we're like those cities are standing on the shoulders of other cities. We're standing on the other shoulders of people that came before us.
Yeah.
And we become a hill where people can see. And what are they seeing when they do that? So
that's a good question.
Yeah. And I think that's good to wrestle with. And for each person, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
And it should be different because we're all different. But know this, when you're on mission, you become the light of the world. So don't be Dan.
I'll try not to be, even though my middle name is Dan.
No, it is really? Are you serious?
Yeah, it is.
I love it.
Anyways. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. This is pretty cool. Yeah, you were pre off mission, Dan.
Right.
Yeah. Because this just didn't happen overnight.
Oh no.
I mean, this took generations. And one of the things that's interesting is in Ruth, there's this phrase that when they're at the city gate doing this exchange, when Boaz redeeming, it says something like, "This was after a tradition." This is in like a tradition that used to happen. Like this was a tradition that happened years ago. Mm-hmm. It makes it seem like it's not a tradition that happens as much anymore, especially the shoe thing. And if you think about it, once you move past the first generation, you move to second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh generation, you forget what the first generation was all about.
Yeah.
And you begin to do your other thing. So it wasn't Dan himself, right? Dan himself wasn't alive.
Right.
But it was whoever the leader of that tribe was that was maybe first, second, third, fourth, fifth generation leader.
Right.
That ended up moving them because they lost what the mission was.
Right.
And you don't do things tradition for tradition's sake, but because that could be off mission too, because God's calling us into new ways, into new thinking and all those kinds of things. And at the same time, you want to bring with you the things that really matter, the things that make a difference,
And that brings, that's why the key thing is that you have a continual connection with God, because God is the one who is providing us that mission.
Yeah. And we talked about this at the beginning. It's the same gem, it's the same diamond, but each generation can look through it in a different way and see, it can look like this, or it can look like this, but it's the same God. Right. It's the same gem. And some people, especially at church, some people get really, really upset because they think you're changing God.
Right.
Like God isn't the tradition. The tradition is what helps us know God more. And if that tradition doesn't work anymore, we got to figure out a new way to be in relationship with God.
Yeah, because the culture changes, and so then actually even the significance of a certain act or something like that may not have that same sort of a place, I guess, or same sort of significance.
Yeah. And the tradition becomes the idol. It becomes the thing you worship,
right?
Not God, that's hard it's hard for some people at times. But the thing that doesn't change for us is beyond mission, and that mission is at the core, be a light for others, be that city on a hill, be that destination of hope and peace for those out there, and. We're still trying to wrestle with people in trash dumps and, people that need food and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And hopefully, when we are the light, we can handle that.
Yeah.
We have enough.
Mm-hmm.
We have enough. We don't have to be so scarcity minded. The problem is, do we have leadership and vision to get us there?
And can we live in shalom, right?
And can we live in shalom? Yeah. Let's not be Nimrods. Let's be shalom givers. So that's what I got this week.
Yeah. Do you have any homework for people as we look ahead?
Here's what I would say. I would say go to Revelation 7. Google the two different lists of the tribes and see which one got added in after Dan.
All right. That sounds like...
See who replaced Dan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well, thanks, Paul. This has been a great wrap up to the book of Ruth, and we're continuing moving on forward, right?
We're going into... we're going to be talking about Thanksgiving in the next 2 weeks. How do we give thanks? How does that happen? Mm-hmm. And why are we supposed to give thanks? we have to teach our kids to say thank you.
Right.
Why is that important? And then we're going to move into Advent, where it's going to be
joy, right?
Joy. And it's not happiness. It's not all unicorns and rainbows, even though I love unicorns and rainbows.
That would be nice.
But how to find joy in the happy moments, how to find joy in the sad moments, how to find joy where things are going smoothly, and how to celebrate joy, and how to find joy when things are not. But we'll be focusing on joy. And then, of course, my birthday.
Well,
it's Jesus' birthday, I guess, too. But Jesus stole my birthday. Very disappointed.
Except he was born first. Actually,
he was born first.
Realistically, was probably not his birthday.
No. Don't bring that up.
Sorry. We don't want to confuse people.
You can Google that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much for joining in, listening, discussing what we talk about. If you have any questions or even some ideas that went off in your head, we would love to hear them. You can reach out to us at POPMN communications at popmn.org. Also, if you're looking for any of our worship resources, you can go to our website, and the worship downloads page has all the worship resources that you might need. Thanks so much, and we look forward to having you back here next week, and I believe that should be with Rory.
It will be with Pastor Rory. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. So,
all right, man. See you later.